You know, there's something deeply ironic about flying high above the world where everything seems bright and expansive while still feeling like you're stuck on the ground invisible. That was me just a few years ago. Andre Wilson, CEO, millionaire, and proud advocate for equality, but back then, just a kid from a modest home wrestling with self doubt, convinced I'd always be overlooked. I can still hear the whispers, voices telling me I didn't belong. You'll never make it, Andre, they'd say, with that familiar mix of pity and skepticism. I worked tirelessly to climb the corporate ladder, carrying the weight of not just my dreams, but the dreams of so many who looked like me. But even as I rose, the spectre of prejudice loomed, a constant reminder that power doesn't always come with respect. Fast forward to a chilly autumn day on a Pinnacle Airlines flight where I found myself wedged in the nerve-wracking space of first class, only to be coldly informed that my reserved seat was now claimed by someone more important. My whole life flashed before me in that instant. It wasn't just about battling for my seat. It was about standing up in a world that's often determined who deserves to fly high. But that day, I decided to stand my ground not just for myself, but for everyone who's ever felt like their worth was dismissed. Little did I know that flight would change everything for me, and I'd come to realize for the entire airline industry. The moment I sat down, I could feel eyes on me, some questioning, some envious. They didn't see me as Andre Wilson, a self-made CEO. They saw an obstacle to someone else's comfort. Just as I was settling in, I overheard Michael Reynolds, the head flight attendant, whisper to another crew member, "Can you believe he thinks he belongs here?" It was that whisper that ignited something inside me. "Excuse me," he said, approaching my seat with all the authority he could muster. "This seat is reserved for priority customers. You'll have to move to economy." I felt a heat rise in my chest, disbelief mingling with burning anger. I paid for this seat. I replied, my voice steady but filled with a tension that seemed to electrify the air around us. "I am not moving." The cabin murmured like a living thing. That moment was more than just me asking for my rightful place. It was me reclaiming every instance when I had been underestimated, when my presence was either ignored or treated as an inconvenience. The other passengers were now aware, their phones emerging from their pockets. This standoff was taking on a life of its own, a quiet storm brewing. "Let's not make this harder than it has to be." Michael pressed a hint of desperation in his voice, but the only thing getting harder was my resolve. Richard Grant, the entitled regular traveller, chimed in. "This little stunt isn't going to work out for you, buddy." Hearing that, I felt my blood boil. Stunt, I shot back, locking eyes with Richard, who radiated privilege. "You think standing up for oneself is a stunt. It's called dignity, something I've fought for my entire life." As the tension hung in the air, I noticed something unusual, a sheen beneath the wing outside. An oil leak. Just as Michael was about to dismiss my presence again, I called out, pointing, "Do you see that? We could be in real danger here." For a split second, the crew hesitated, caught in a web of their own assumptions and the reality of my concern. I could feel the shift and opening, like the axis of this conflict had just slightly turned. The stakes had escalated, dynamics shifted. Suddenly, I was no longer just a black man trying to assert his space. I was the whistleblower. I pulled out my phone, documenting everything. "This is bigger than an upgraded seat," I thought. "This is about earning respect In that cabin filled with shifting loyalties and simmering uncertainty, a determination crystallized within me. I would not back down, and I'd ensure that the world saw what was happening. So there I was, sitting in 3A, poised for a fight that seemed to defy the logic of a Sunday crossword puzzle. Michael, our charmingly oblivious head flight attendant, was doing his best to channel TSA enforcer energy, you know, the kind that makes you question how humanity has devolved this far. And I'm just there trying to keep my cool, but inside I'm like a pot of water about to boil over. It became a spectacle. Richard, I'm important because I said. So Grant went on about how his frequent flyer miles should exempt him from the rules. Meanwhile, my mind was racing. Was I really going to risk it all for a seat? Wasn't this supposed to be the easy part of life? You pay your fare, you get your seat, and yet here I was facing a modern-day King's Court where privilege dictated the pecking order. And the best part, other passengers, they started pulling out their phones like I was about to drop the next viral dance move. Who knew my moment of standing up for dignity would end up as social media fodder? Just wait, I thought maybe they'll use it for a TikTok challenge. But here's the kicker. Just when I thought it couldn't get weirder, I noticed a leak near the wing. I calmly raised my hand, ready to pivot from the personal to the critical. Do you guys not see the shuttle bus of disaster headed our way? But Michael just rolled his eyes. It felt like he was saying, let's keep the turbulence to drama on board, shall we? Yet there was this tiny flicker of fire inside me, a little spark that whispered, don't back down. It felt like I was fighting with one hand tied behind my back, powerless, yet oddly empowered in this absurd standoff. It's sick, really, how you sometimes have to show the world that mere existence is revolutionary. So I pulled out my phone, ready to document this circus, if it came to that. Because if I was going down, I'd make sure everyone knew it. I mean, come on, if we can't trust the airline crew with our safety, what are we even doing here? As the anger bubbled to the surface, my frustration morphed into an unyielding determination. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was a badge of honor for every person who felt overlooked, misplaced, or just plain fed up with the norm. Welcome to the storm before the breakthrough, folks. Buckle up. The ride was about to get a lot more interesting. The tension peaks the air, thick with anticipation. Andre stands, heart pounding. This isn't just about a seat. He asserts, voice steady. Murmurs ripple through the cabin. Andre scans the faces, curiosity, solidarity, disbelief. Then he sees it. The glint of desperation behind Michael's eyes. The flicker of uncertainty in Elena's gaze. He takes a deep breath, grounding himself. I paid for this seat just like everyone else. You're dismissing me, but I refuse to be invisible. He pulls out his phone, the flashing red light igniting purpose in him. I'll document every moment. Not just for me, but for anyone who has felt this way. I won't let this be forgotten. The words catch fire in the cabin. Andre locks eyes with a woman in the front row, her phone now recording. A little boy's curious gaze meets his innocent yet profound. Do you see me? Andre whispers to the boy, and in that moment something shifts. The urgency of the situation deepens. A flight attendant rushes past, and then a loud bang. The overhead lights flicker. We safe? Andre's voice cuts through the chaos. Michael hesitates, the weight of multiple eyes upon him. There's been an oil leak. Andre replies, a note of steel creeping in. Safety comes first. Are we doing our jobs? Hands tighten around armrests. Discomfort transforms a collective realization building. The atmosphere morphs from disbelief to vigor. I am no longer the only voice. Andre feels the power rising within him. Around him, murmurs become a chorus. Someone stands. Then another. A woman calls out, claiming her own experiences. Andre feels it, a tidal wave of strength. Together, he declares, rising with them. We will be seen. We will be heard. It's not just about the seat anymore. It's a movement born from the ashes of marginalization, rising like the flame of a candle in the dark. Dignity isn't up for debate. And just like that, the energy shifts, the spark igniting into an unquenchable fire. As the dust settled from the confrontation, Andre found himself in a sleek, glass-walled boardroom, flanked by the very executives who once overlooked him. The atmosphere buzzed with both tension and anticipation. The headline on his phone flashed like a beacon. Pinnacle Airlines faces backlash after grounded flight drama. Passenger calls out systemic bias. It wasn't just another story. It was the start of a necessary conversation. With the CEO of Pinnacle Airlines sitting across the table, Andre spoke with the steadiness of someone who knew the weight of his words. This isn't about revenge, he said, his voice unwavering. It's about holding ourselves accountable, leading with integrity, and ensuring no one else has to endure what I did. Each word was woven with a lifetime of struggle, but there was an unmistakable glint in his eye, a quiet confidence that spoke volumes. The air thickened as they shook hands, sealing a pact not just for change, but for transformative growth within the organization. Andre's hand was firm, acknowledging the gravity of what lay ahead. Walking out of that boardroom, he couldn't help but lope slightly, his posture infused with a newfound purpose. The past might still harbour its scars, moments of doubt, whispers of entitlement, but now, those scars felt like badges of honour, each representing a battle that was worth fighting. As he stepped outside into the bustling airport, he caught sight of the Pinnacle Airlines team. Their interactions with every passenger were now more inclusive, more understanding. Andre smirked, a small acknowledgement of the journey he had undertaken, the triumph that came not from pride, but from having the courage to stand tall and demand respect, not just for himself, but for everyone. Success doesn't erase the scars. It simply reframes them as stepping stones toward a brighter future. As I walk through this bustling airport today, I can't help but reflect on how far I've come since that fateful flight. 2 years ago, I was just a man fighting for my right to exist in a space that tried to diminish my voice. What started as a personal battle against discrimination became a catalyst for something much greater, a conversation about power trust and painfully revenge. In that moment of confrontation, I learned that holding on to anger could lead to a newfound strength. I discovered the thin line between justice and vengeance, and the difference between standing up for oneself versus stooping down to the level of those who would silence you. Embracing my pain empowered me to advocate for change that rippled far beyond my own experience. But I also learned that with confidence comes responsibility. Each decision we make not only impacts us, but the world around us. So I pose this question to you. Is revenge truly a form of justice, or does it only perpetuate a cycle of hurt? Everyone has something to say on this, and I know the debate is contentious. What happened to me was not just about reclaiming a seat, it was about redefining respect and dignity within an entire industry. As you reflect on your own experiences with bias, share your thoughts or stories below. Remember, change begins with one voice, but it requires the courage of many to maintain it. Dignity should never be a negotiable commodity. Let that truth guide your actions today.